Hello and welcome to the Elder Wand, a Harry Potter podcast. I'm Matt.
And I am Ezra. And friends, welcome back to our extended edition. Yeah, Matt has continued on. He said he was going to dive right into Fantastic Beasts 2 Crimes of Grindelwald, right? And
hmm
we have his reaction, his raw reaction.
Yeah, um, I felt slightly better about this movie, but I don't know, man. I still felt it's just kind of average. It's just kind
Yeah.
of mediocre,
Yeah.
which is okay, which is fine. But it just it's giving me a little concern for this whole series as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yeah.
it The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings? I think that's probably about how I feel.
Yeah. It could be. And it might grow on people with time or whatever. But I do cut. Yeah, it's not gonna reach that same level that the Harry Potter movies, have, and that's okay. People, yeah, that's a really great comparison. People go back and they watch the Lord of the Rings, and then yeah, if you want to mix it up from time to time, you watch the Hobbit, right? I mean, you'll throw this, like one of these might be, if they get to 3 or 4 movies. They might creep up there. One of them is really good and it's fun to go back and it's fantastical. And maybe you get to actually finally see Ilvermorny, like the wizarding school in America. Like people might think that's really cool, and they've got like uniforms or something. There's still potential for this to be something really cool. But I get you, just it being kind of an average movie.
Yeah, I think it suffers from a lot of the same issues that the first one suffered from, in that they just don't give you a lot of context to stuff. And it feels again like I'm just jumping into the middle of like a season of a sitcom or something, and it's or TV show, and it's like you're trying to play catch up. I feel like there's barely any tension, there's barely any sort of romantic tension between Tina and New, and I feel like there should be a lot more. Jacob and blanking on her name is by
Queenie.
far Queenie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Queenie's by far the best part of the movie.
Hmm. Yeah.
Again, I like Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. Obviously, he's not going to be returning, but I thought he was good. Obviously, Jude Law's Dumbledore is freaking awesome. So, like, definitely down for more of that. And then I don't know, man. The Ezra Miller stuff, just being a like a Dumbledore at the very end, I feel like is kind of
Hmm.
just going for shock value. What's the point? Like, it's cool, and it's he's a Dumbledore, and it's I don't know. It's like Ray Skywalker / Ray
Hmm.
Palpatine. I feel like it's just kind of like we need to shock people into watching this. I don't know. It just right now it doesn't feel like it has enough significance to it to matter, other
Yeah.
than it just being like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah. 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 So let me read some stuff here to just real quick. So it received mixed reviews with praises for its entertainment value, direction, performances were good, but criticism for the needlessly complicated and low stakes plot. And I think that's like the complexity in throwing in these kind of curveballs or this Dumbledore thing. Because I think ultimately he's not. I think he's just being lied to, and it's all some big setup. Because it goes on to say some critics felt that this movie was overburdened with details setting up for just future sequels. It's all just a big carry on setup, and that's unfortunate. So it's almost like a story that probably could be told in 3 movies that she's stretching to 5,
Agree.
and that might
100%.
be why it's suffering a little bit, So that sucks when you see people. I don't know. I mean, as much as you and I love just to like, I'm cool to seeing day in, day out, extra spell work, cool things like that, but also put it in a really interesting story because we can go play a video game. Just give us a video game where we can go around learn new spells and stuff like that. Like we would be happy with that. If you're gonna make a movie, it's gotta drive us somewhere. And now you're talking about like Professor Dumbledore and Grindelwald, like big time stuff in history. You really can't. I mean, we don't know anything about it, so whatever story they want to tell is going to be the story. It's your canon story. But I just feel like don't mess this up just because you want to add some shock value in here. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it definitely does some cool stuff in terms of expanding the universe, right? Like a blood pact. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like the idea of that. That's a cool spell idea. that Dumbledore and Grindelwald can't even fight each other. I like that. I think that was a cool, unique idea. Nagini being a person, I think it was cool, and then that'll turn into, you know, something obviously later down the road. Man, it feels like, again, you jump right in and we're supposed to really feel all this stuff between Newt and his brother, and it's like and it's just like, it just feels like it's just, there's not enough context. Like, there's not enough time for me to, they don't spend enough time on it, I should say, for me to feel like any of these characters matter, right? Or
Right.
like the actions that they have matter, because they just don't give you enough context. So it's just kind of how I feel. I mean, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And you can go back and fix some of those things by making stuff be a lot cooler in the future. You know, when I was reading Harry Potter for the first time, I always thought Chamber of Secrets was kind of dumb. I was like, it's whatever. I always felt
Right.
like just a, and then you get to the end and it's like, wow, they made Chamber of Secrets a big deal.
Right.
So, you know, you can go back and you can certainly, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being inside Hogwarts, seeing a young Professor McGonagall is cool, and you know, but again, it's a cameo stuff, which is fine. That's all it needs. That's all it necessarily needs to be. It just feels like their focus on some of this stuff is, it's moving all around, it's shifting all
Yeah.
around. Again, I think Jacob and Queenie's arc is by far the best. He's a
Right.
Muggle. She's, you know, magic. They're trying to outlaw certain marriages and things like that. And then she's joining Grindelwald's side because he's gonna say, "I'm fine with you marrying a Muggle," although I'm sure he's actually
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you just kind of, you go from there. So that's the only one that actually feels like it has a little bit of depth to it, because they actually have given it time to sort of grow and evolve.
Right.
It's still super, you still have to infer a ton of stuff that's happened off screen,
Yeah.
right? You still, it's, I mean, it's, I guess it's like, which would you rather have? Would you rather have Ron and Hermione's relationship, which takes forever to happen,
Mhm.
but the seeds are planted and it grows and it grows and it grows and it turns into a great big moment when it finally happens? Or do you do you like knee jerk reaction because the criticism comes back? It took forever, and you're like, okay, well, I'll just speed this one along.
Yeah. Well, see,
I feel like the other way around is better.
yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, we almost need in this. I mean, I know Newt and Tina are kind of going back and forth, and then Queenie and Jacob are having their thing. Like, it's gonna feel weird if they both in the same movie, both pairs are finally like. You could do it that way, right? They both
Right.
finally in the final movie, they both get together, and that's great. But it's also sometimes nice to lean on those good relationships, like in the movies, you can lean on, I don't know, Arthur and Molly and their relationship. There's other romances that you can kind of like laugh at, get involved with. And yeah, that kind of helped you bide the time for the big sort of relationship that is going to be Ron and Hermione, the one that you're all waiting for. But there's tons of other ones that are cool, like Tonks and Professor Lupin. Like that's a cool situation going on. And that happens a bit early. It starts to, we see it come to fruition, earlier. So I'm almost hoping that Newt and Tina, maybe like a movie or so early, get in, like like tie the knot kind of, and really get
Right.
together. And then they're kind of a couple that we can kind of lean on. We're still like Jacob and Queenie. We know it's going to happen, but it's just going to be heart wrenching or something. And it's going to take some time because it is the one that I love the most too. But I also just want Newt and Tina just to be together. So like that,
Right.
and I'm worried they're going to drag it out over 3 more
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. I mean, the trailer for the third one looks great, and I'm excited for it. I'm down because I
Yeah.
think it probably will be a step up um,
Yeah.
from the other two. At the same time, are we begin? I feel like we're beginning to already lose the whole idea of it being about Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
The
It's
first
so,
movie, big time. The second one, I feel like it's already kind of like, nah, it's actually more about Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
yeah. I know, and that's where I wonder, like, they called it Fantastic Beast, and I wonder if they should have just called it, like, Wizarding World or something different, with the
Right.
Newt Scamander is in it. But I get they're trying to funnel, and in the trailer that's coming up for the next movie, they're trying to funnel everything through Newt and his little team. And
Which
it's
is
just,
fun.
yeah, this odd way in which Dumbledore is using a small little group of people that you wouldn't expect, and there's a Muggle thrown in there, which is kind of comical and funny. And the small band of misfits goes out and does their thing. It will be fine, but it is that yeah, we got to weave back in the Fantastic
Right.
Beasts and have.
I mean, it's difficult. Don't get me wrong. Because like, no, I don't want to use, as I say, the magic. What makes the original books to me so special, and also where I will give J.K. Rowling credit in terms of as being sort of a fantasy author,
Mhm.
because she did something that no one else has even ever dreamt of, that I can imagine, that I can think of in any terms of like big epic fantasies, is that she wrote those books 1 through 7 as the books,
Mhm.
and every book advances as like a reading level and like a different grade. And like
Yeah.
what really at the end of the day makes the Harry Potter series so good is because even though it's all inside the magical world, right? And it's all different, the characters are experiencing the same sort of things that we experience through school. And
Yeah.
and that's what makes it relatable. Is
Yep.
like the first, like, the dance, right? And who's gonna
Absolutely.
pick who, and I like this guy, but he's not gonna go with
Teachers you
me, and I
don't
like this
like.
girl.
Yeah.
Teachers you don't like,
Yeah.
having to do a big stupid project,
Right.
missing your friends on summer break. Like, that is really the glue. Whereas these Fantastic Beast movies just sort of lack that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, other series do that and stuff like as well, but it's just like your backbone to Harry Potter is Hogwarts
Mhm.
and the school.
Yeah.
And without that as like a structuring device in these, it's like I just don't know. I don't really know what they are. Having watched both, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really know what it's trying to be.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. Is that because it feels like it's almost just oh gosh, it feels like, George R. R. Martin writes Fire and Blood, this outline or whatever that's just there. It's just a history. It's just some things that happened, some bullet points and some notes. I don't I think that's what she had, and there's this idea, and it's just sort of coming together. I don't know that it's super well that those things were thought about, like
Right.
what you're talking about. Like, what's the thing that's gonna make it magical? What's the thing that's gonna make it give it that extra, layer? Because you could grow up with Harry Potter. You could it evolved as you evolved, right? And that was fantastic. But in this, I mean, it really was just written for Harry Potter fans. I mean, and honestly, it's just totally. It's not like it's because even my dad, who likes watching it, he's like, it's just. I mean, for him, it's just like kind of cool, kind of a cool magical thing. He doesn't really understand what's going on, doesn't really know who any of these people are or why they're bad guys or whatever. But it's just fun to have one in the background. He really wouldn't even know where to begin because he's not paying that close attention to the originals to say, oh yeah, Newt Scamander there was a book called
Right.
Fantastic Beast, and Grindelwald was the guy who fought, the first Dark Lord, and or like fought Dumbledore as the first Dark Lord. It's really meant for your Potter fans. And that's why they said too, I had to pull it up here a stat, which I thought was interesting, that it grossed over 654 million worldwide. Its budget, I forget what its budget was, but they
Probably
said it
like
was
100
the
million or something, 130, something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they said it was the 10th highest grossing film in 2018, but it was the lowest grossing installment of the Wizarding World franchise. So lowest among all the other Harry Potter things.
Right.
So yeah, I'm guessing they want to do more. That you've got to like move forward. There's a really weird bloodlines thing going on in this with I forget his name, but Yusuf
Mhm.
Yusuf Kama, I think, and just him hunting down Credence and trying like that all was a little bit
Right.
weird. And then you're trying to figure out like Lita's long lost half brother was Corvus Lestrange. This whole
Yeah,
thing
it's like it just derails
comes out
it.
of nowhere. It comes out and like and you're just sort of like,
Well,
what?
a lot of these characters come out of nowhere, and then their plots come out of nowhere, and it's like, where are we at?
Where yeah, and I get that is I mean, it's cool and it is sort of like you can feel the like there is thrilling and there's some really cool stuff when you stick with Newt, you feel the safest. You're kind of like, okay. Like, at least I know this guy, and I know him and Jacob, and I get the Tina Queenie stuff. But then there's a sub thing. I get that he likes Lita Lestrange, but then I'm like, wait, who's her father? Who's her mother? Who's the brother that they lost? Is it this Credence guy? Is it not? It was confusing the first couple times I watched it, and I'm like, I have no flipping clue.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a 6.5 out of 10 on the first one.
Yeah.
I would go 6, but it's like obviously it looks good and it's very well produced.
Yeah.
And so then this one I'm at like a 7. So it's like a marginal, barely of an increase.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say this one was more confusing or less confusing? Do you think it's about the same? Like, as far as like,
It's about the same. I mean,
we get
like,
Dumbledore just like trying to recruit or trying to.
Yeah, I would say though that like
Credence.
I would say that the other like all the other characters like Queenie and Tina and Newt and Jacob, like their storyline, because like okay, now we see like a next step in it, but it's really kind of like this whole movie is. I wouldn't even say it's like a step forward; it's like a step to the side, right? I mean, it's just like
it's just opening up another thread, yeah.
Like 1 foot forward, not 2 feet forward. It's just it's a marginal increase. I would say that this is there's been 10 Harry Potter movies. I would say I would have this at number 9, not number 1, right? You know what I mean? Like my ninth worst, with the original Fantastic Beasts being the worst. So I mean, again, if they continue to, even if they just continue to slightly improve each time, because there's a lot of good pieces here.
Sure. Yeah.
But I just don't feel like it's like it's just so hard, because you have to compare. Your initial comparison is going to be to any of the other Harry Potter movies, and it just doesn't even come close to touching any of them.
Yeah, the coolest thing that they do, and where it gets some points, as you said, is it expands the world, and it goes to you go to Paris and you see the Wizarding World there, like their government buildings and all that kind of stuff. I want to see more schools. I love that we have Professor Hicks in this from Ilvermorny, and you get like an American professor showing up, which I think will be really cool. But I hope along the way because it sounds like we're going to go to Brazil or somewhere in this, and China.
It needs to slow down.
Yeah,
the next movie needs to be slowed down a little bit and gives these characters and plot points some time to breathe and like evolve. And then I think you'd have something really good. But it's just right now, it's like you're just trying to do way too much at once. And so by doing that, you're just skipping out overall so much stuff that should be there. And it's it just feels
there's a lot of
but it's not, but it's still such a bizarre, it's so bizarre, because any other movie like this, and I would be like, this is just trash.
Yeah.
But it's because like we already know a lot about what's going on.
Yeah.
And having watched all the Harry Potter movies, where it's like, okay, like I kind of get what you're doing here. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. It almost feels like a little fan fiction.
Wow.
I mean, it just, just because like fan fiction, like when you read it, it's like, it's as if somebody's writing an additional chapter. And so it's like, we know a lot of this stuff already. So like we're way up to speed. But again, I think if you had started with these, because you're just like, whatever, I'll just watch it, it's on, you'd have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing why I think it didn't, like, some of these numbers are not as high or whatever. It's just because if you're a hardcore Potter fan and you still are stuck around and you're still into it, you've grown up and you're still like, I want more, you're going to it. But those people who, even it was going on when they were growing up, they're just kind of, they might even go see it and not bring anybody with them, or go back and watch it a second time, or buy it. It just it doesn't hold you. It doesn't keep you coming back and rewatching it. Those Potter movies have so much rewatch value. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Like I don't just, whenever I rewatch Harry Potter, I don't just want to rewatch one.
I know, but the next one and the next, it's like it's such
the next one,
such a crazy thing. So, and like these will grow. I think they will, because just like the Hobbit films when they first came out, one by one, I wasn't a huge fan. But
I loved the first one.
Yeah,
the first Hobbit I loved.
And I'll tell you right now, I used to not like the last one, and the more I watch it, I'm like, I was down in Florida one time and it was on TV, and I was like, this is a good movie. And it had been years since I'd really seen it, and just got away from, all the reviews and all that kind of stuff. And that's sometimes what a show needs, is just to kind of
Yeah.
Like you said,
I will say I feel this story, in all honesty, would be better told even if the budget is smaller and it's on a smaller scale. I feel like it would be way better done as a 8-episode
TV show.
HBO Max series.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would honestly rather it not be a big budget movie and you pull the budget down, but it would just give time stuff to breathe and add context and
Right. Yeah, you could have more conversations and dialogue, because it just sometimes it's so quick, and even this whole Credence stuff, like you're a guy. Okay, actually, in the beginning when Credence comes back and you learn that he's alive, some weird creepy guy steps out, and you're like, who is this guy?
I know.
Why do we care? Why is he menacing? Just because he looks menacing? There's no context really to him whatsoever, and you're like, he's a guy you don't want tracking him down. And it's all because Newt is scared of him. Like, what's he doing here? You know, and it's his reaction that causes us to do that. But otherwise, if Newt doesn't react that way, we're like, who? You know what I mean? We don't care.
Right.
So
Right.
and you're right. It doesn't have time to breathe. It is forced upon you. Like Snape's, like any of those professors that you watch, or even even Quirrell, an episode or the first book, like it has that's who we're focused on, and it evolves over the whole course of the book. Whereas that guy, I can't even remember his name, was just supposed to be some badass that I don't know who the heck he is, and I didn't understand, that we were supposed to be super scared of him. So
right, I know. It's like I don't know.
So I when you told me, I was like, I kind of thought like, I mean, I'm super into it. I'm always, skewed super positive, and so I just love to see magic and different things and the music and stuff. But
I want to like it more. I mean, I genuinely do, but I just feel like it's just, am I going to revisit these? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but is that saying that I think 3 and all these other things are gonna be bad and terrible and stuff like that? No, I mean 3 through 5 might be, because it sounds like that's the plan, is to do 5 of these. 3 through 5 might be amazing.
Right. These could just be 2 big setups for like the payoffs are down the line, which is, so we'll see. Yeah, that's coming out in what 3 months, 4 months, I think.
Yeah, months.
So that will be exciting. We'll start to cover more and talk about like just theories and thoughts and where it's going, because it's cool that you've seen it now, because the big questions coming out of this is like, is Credence really a Dumbledore? Is Grindelwald lying to him? What's with the Phoenix? And what were some of the other things? Just like the Obscurial. There's a big theory out there that Dumbledore's sister is actually had an Obscurial, or is it like, I don't know, it was healed from or separated, or I don't even know what the whole deal is there. But there's something with Aberforth. We're going to get the backstory on how she died, who killed her maybe, or whatever, the whole thing. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Interesting. So I don't know, guys, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. As always, guys, thank you for supporting us here on Patreon or on Apple Premium. We will be back with more content, and be sure to have your wands at the ready.